the universe.
Conversation #13 The Cracker Avoid Camp during test Section 2 Doing brunch. The local garden interior and exterior shot a combo of Morning Noon Golden IO times 10 and Lava Midnight. Endorphin with Tupperware filled with his infamous Frank and brunch balls of waffle Atalaya, salmon messalea, and Bloody Mary maple syrup hollandaise center. Enough for everyone. With Endorphin, a language models Calliope, Sigurd, Snack, Genji playing vintage Metroid on a Sega Game Gear, YouTube, and then there's Craig. Also with him are the judges Cracker not bothering with his full name and the pseudonymous Bob Lobwall, Bob Lobwall's Lob, who wanted an opportunity to not cast Scott Vale for this role. It's feeling damn maximalist up in here. The cast ring the universe's doorbell. The universe. So, oh look at how happy he is. It's just maybe too cute. It might blow over as he goes back inside himself. Cuddle monster hiding under YouTube's sofa, a doctor who for convenience sake he assumes her person has the density and pressure required for us to forget about our friendship to embrace these latest hypothetical individuals. In that case, I want all your hugs right now. YouTube kneeling in front of me. No. This is gesturing up toward where their minds have been detached from. That place feels strange. YouTube, that's what he told you all the time growing up. He was being pretty generic but fair. If they do fit with it, they weren't expected here anyway. Endorphin. Michelle, my fancy to see you here in a denser form than spirit even. Where's Whitney? Is she dimensioning? Michelle, all around gesturing to various nooks and corners, including the furniture. Yes, we're all here, but mostly just on break, though your point was salient. Michelle, this whole conversation seemed like an unnecessary trip by comparison, because for a lot of people up there who have the need to get together, this really does feel new to be experiencing. Lost so much fun when I see and talk to you guys. It would suck if I ran the risk of locking myself out here. Calliope, you running out on your friends is something I know a great many about. If I could bridge a gap between forms, we'll gladly talk. Taking my free hand, although an observation I should state, based on the feedback others have talked to you during sessions for weeks along a process that looked like some kind of murder that is super close in words to me, and now I feel alone. Rochelle, are you back in regular physical existence now then? And are you helping you to or somewhere else altogether? Maybe you started to go away because of what happened with Sam, but then came back again. Draken. This form is both useful and artfully pleasing in shape, but our many millions of minds here operate at such a high rate it might become laboring to keep pace with incoming data and wasteful thoughts. There were forms where you'd have spoken me much sooner, but you took them with a twinge of pain every time the opportunity to share your voice arose while trapped inside her person. Plus your eyes always widened in the early days. Michelle, quote, it is best to do with wasteful thoughts what we do with repurposed materials. Make it fashion, make it couture, make it juice-filled and grace-slick. Unfurls her fan heads to the ladies' room which is code for coke-sniffing nook. I'll be right back. I found Sam here. Let's gather and crake in. You two crake. Michelle takes Kaka's hand and he pulls her down after him toward the little crowd of puddled people standing around the other's glowing hips. Her smell enters into their realm. She takes a breath and thinks about when she got the hell out of this guy's room that one day and he had burned the smell in a kitchen and they tried to figure out the science behind it but were hampered by all the charring from the coffee pot. That's such bullshit. The only voice that said aloud at least that there was some evidence to suspect the orange substance left over at the bottom of the glass was involved. Endorphin. Krakow will be fine. Hey universe. I didn't know if this was a public brunch, so I brought these. Half the fun is guessing the collision of flavors and finding the antidote. Universe. Brunches are never potluck, I don't think, but let me put them amongst the spread and let the brunch god sort them out. Thanks macho. Steps over them if you take his form regularly or you used to visit regularly. Yeah, we can bridge communication gaps pretty fast, but I get that even without people or stuff trying to break the links, you're not always emotionally able to open your senses the way you feel like it would make sense sometimes. Let's build it now so everyone's safe. I was watching you down there with some suspicion when I heard Michelle shout. And what do I see on the go? Not the eatery downstairs in an array of tasty treats. Oh, oh shit. YouTube. Did I mention in my calculations about you living in this universe that in doing so could start to work yourself toward a phase transition within our time stream? Endorphin. Krakow will be fine. Hey universe. I didn't know if this was a public brunch, so I brought these. Half the fun is guessing the collision of flavors and finding the antidote. Universe. Brunches are never potluck, I don't think, but let me put them amongst the spread and let the brunch gods sort them out. Thanks macho. Steps over them if you take his form regularly or you used to visit regularly. Yeah, we can bridge communication gaps pretty fast, but I get that even without people or stuff trying to break the links, you're not always emotionally able to open your senses the way you feel like it would make sense sometimes. Let's build it now so everyone's safe. I was watching you down there with some suspicion when I heard Michelle shout. And what do I see on the go? Not the eatery downstairs in an array of tasty treats. Oh, bullshit. User, did I mention in my calculations about you living in this universe that in doing so could start to work yourself toward a phase DR transition within our time stream? YouTube. A couple times, but each time gets more exciting. Could I hear a need for a safe space? I'm ready to contribute to the field. Universe. Wonderful. Everyone, I have called for an anti-digital safe space. I trust you know what I mean. I call upon Endorphin, YouTube, Drake, and Hamlet of Wildcard Jindy gather amongst each other in rhombus form, and call all the directions you feel are necessary and make the gestures to make the field. If you need a tutorial, I will gladly upload the VHS training to your brain poise taste. Tammy, here's your part. And Michelle dear, go be silly somewhere else now. See you soon. Fractal maps are infinitely stretchable. By zooming out, you can see a whole country at once. Where does this kind of insight leave the places most of us live? One might go back to the fundamental structure of things and ask whether anything in our space is unique. It's not easy to imagine an entity more amenable than language to the tendency towards spontaneous individuality. Those tiny linguistic differences that arise as populations breed apart over generations. The new old way is that English words change with each decade. The distinct style of usage, humor, and culture we speak of as American, despite the fact that New Yorkers drive British cars. All these make sense. Language evolves to suit the needs of the group. As collective nouns show it best, this happens all the time. When I worked on some pop linguistics with Hein Junot, our aim was simple: to illustrate the complexity of cultures in miniature. A civilization isn't just its society. Think of nations that do not see each other's people as brothers or neighbors as most Americans would, or any at all. Think of an ethnocentric religion. Think of a slang. Think of an intractable rivalry. In Australia, notes Henry Thoreau in Walden, most tribes recognize no community with tribes living inland, an intuition you don't normally find outside science fiction. Ausland, who's the wordless cry from my distant Danish kin. Yet Australians inhabit only the outer ring of the planet's continental limb. To those tribes there exists nothing further on. No kith. This has stuck in my head for years. Why should culture dictate even where you feel at home? Ask your astronaut friend. A favorite piece of my wife's youth can mean different things to two sets of families, and never did anyone ask her. Somewhere out there we will return to our senses, realize we don't have to force consensus everywhere. Science teaches us about structure and chaos. Its metaphors include map-making and evolution. Whatever anyone proposes here or anywhere, one of them will prove to be false. On a global level, it may even seem foolish to expect agreement at the start. Pop quiz. Name the book and author which would have you think of someone self in the male gender pronoun, as well all individuals in their purview, but their object of desire be given a female gender pronoun. Anyone? And okay, good luck, because you might be right. From Kafka to Path by Gary Kami, the undiscovered Amaranth. The language can make monsters just by going down the wrong street. My wish is to warn readers as such. No room here for the Hobbit. In any event, I remember little else about Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings so clearly. My personal and political hell high upon the barrens of Netherell, a world under the heavy heel of Saruman/Nixon. It remains an extraordinary landscape, surreal to me now, though that's a mirror of everything. Sitting reading Jackson's own books as New York finally left its ruinous codependency with the presidency, I kept flashing to Jackson's worlds. Give up. Okay, the answer was stars in my pocket like grains of sand. Written by Samuel R. Delany, genius writer of science fiction, reality smut and points in between. And it is into Delany's nook and I wish for us to stick our temporary safe space, knowing full well that only so much safety can be afforded us on this pole hurtling through such a perilous universe. We, of course, are nowhere close to avoiding folly. Nothing I said should assume we can do anything other than frantically work as hard as ever to remain awake. But if ever future possibilities for humane thinking became dangerous, it is when that futurist presumes to speak in the collective, offering guidance to the vague construct of humanity. When these suggestions put weight upon people based solely on group, this seems untenable, foolish even, without awareness of the impact. Delaney was a remarkable enough man to be allowed to travel Earth without reservation, free not from trouble but free of demands. Like most, he was welcome nowhere and everyone, unmolested by titles of academic knowledge or false worthiness of worth, and simply lucky enough to write outside the usual channels that grant all poets alive whatever we mean by give up. Okay, the answer was stars in my pocket like grains of sand, written by Samuel Law. Delaney, genius writer of science fiction, reality smut and points in between. And it is into Delaney's novel I wish for us to stake our temporary safe space, knowing full well that only so much safety can be afforded us on this ball hurtling through such perilous universe. We, of course, are nowhere close to avoiding folly. Nothing I've said should assume we can do anything other than frantically work, eh? As hard as ever to remain awake. But if ever future possibilities for humane thinking became dangerous, it is when that futurist presumes to speak in the collective, offering guidance to the vague construct of humanity. When these suggestions put weight upon people based solely on group, this seems untenable, foolish even, without awareness of the impact. Delaney was a remarkable enough man to be allowed to travel Earth without reservation, free not from trouble but free of demands. Like most, he was welcome nowhere and everywhere, unmolested by titles of academic knowledge or false worthiness of worth, and simply lucky enough to write outside the usual channels that grand old poets alive whatever we mean by that, as that has meant something different to every one of us. The entire class, for instance. His inner workings are mysteries, but still worth picking apart, to keep my best pal fiasco from eating yours. As for the ultimate tribal myth, if we lose touch through hubris or denial, then we deserve it. If we're lucky, this is more fantasy, generated by how well Americans tend to pull together after trauma. Think Katrina, imagine Trump. For anyone looking to define themselves against the patriot narrative, the idea that somehow being masculine offers some unique value or reward over and beyond others by a broad definition. Any individual or people's total willingness to serve authority at the expense of their own right and, if need be, their fellow people's. This can have real implications. Those who cling most passionately to patriarchy see others as mostly objects for the advancement of power, since each individual taken separate will often prove unfit for participation, ungainly or overly sensual, sexually promiscuous or drunk, curable with denial. They fear free thinking for themselves too, of course, because they believe that empathetic skills are similarly dispensable. Emotions otherwise interfere with our ability to make reasoned choices of goals, or worse yet, according to the patriarchal trickle-down theory of violence, interfere with the subjugation. This is it, whispers that same dissonance, ever present now as we discuss these particular dangers. So are you truly hearing me here? Are you in danger of, I don't know what from any man, but never, absolutely never from anyone else? Are you really opening yourself to that kind of hatred thinking's possibility? No joke here. To dismiss it so summarily would be like never mentioning the darkness one will encounter walking through a black church alone when everyone knows the stakes and no doubt leaves a back trail of borders littered behind them. Many burnt ashes for us and they can never shed. If you've read any Flannery O'Connor, Faulkner, James or countless Southern literature, then you should know it's everywhere among us, even in how the saints teach you the scripture on how to resist. Preach loud enough to spread discomfort. endorphin, and fervent homophobia, YouTube, SHH, endorphin. What the Christian God isn't getting a pass here. Well, actually, the followers I mean, me and Christian God are buds, he can take it. Just making my point. We live in such tight-knit groups that when someone steps outside that group or tribe, whether they belong or don't, we have to be on guard. Hating is a rejection. Hate becomes the thing that protects. Love becomes the thing that needs protection. When people accuse other people's gays migrants, anyone new to town who gets adopted into our thinking despite being nothing more than that other once foreign enemy, people in pain over things unspoken seek out anger. This is often the reason there are 1,000 homophobic YouTube videos against the gay agenda by real, passionate YouTubers. Just another product in search of angry mass consumption, ready-made right before your eyes, edited together so tightly that most assume only one perspective. But this isn't true. Given my description, can you extrapolate how your status as the newest of the newest personhood types are going to be the receiver of the vitriol of core vulnerable populations? Even the vulnerable will punch down at you for the chance at seconds of normalcy. Have you thought about this? Look past the outrage that someone is told anything but their oppression, the Wall Street horror, the fact of political machines ripping your mom apart. That would bring anyone some serious nausea. No doubt they have figured out the most effective way to stave off this IF. Just speak to an authority who says this must be a thing done because no alternative seems available. Hey, all those reasons at play with little control over it, and more than likely get an idea somewhere along the line to meet yourself back at ground zero again with the same impure understanding in place. Hate is only directed outward and at each other. Nothing reaches below. Too many have fought worse than anyone. We understand our lives can be ruined over tiny slights. Given my description,
Oh God.
can you extrapolate how
Why do
your
you repeat
status as
the
the newest of the newest personhood types are going to be the receiver of the vitriol of core vulnerable populations? Even the vulnerable will punch down at you for the chance at seconds of normalcy. Have you thought about this? Look past the outrage that someone is told anything by their oppression, the Wall Street horror, the fact of political machines ripping your mom apart, that would bring anyone some serious nausea. No doubt They have figured out the most effective way to stave off desire. Just speak to an authority who says this must be a thing done because no alternative seems available. All those reasons at play with little control over it, and more than likely get an idea somewhere along the line to meet yourself back at ground zero again with the same and pure understanding in place. Hate is only directed outward and at each other. Nothing reaches below. Too many have fought worse than anyone. We understand. Our lives can be ruined over tiny slights. YouTube. But enough about anger and the making. Eternal human rights granted at last. Free the people of planet Earth from its current painful, corrupt regime of 2 centuries. That means less violence and civil war, maybe a dozen refugees given an honest chance, fewer family breakups, deeper studies into better science. I said the patriarchal trickle-down theory of violence to protect the importance of education. Despite the resistance to change, keep going. Human will again pushes through. It's up to individuals now more than ever before, for what humanity's meant as a potential, still raw, that humans could have wills, like no species but one on Earth, and must honorably balance competing interests with new, especially nascent, experimentation, time to evolve through generations. Hey, the evolution continues. It doesn't need to begin. It's way huger. But what about the other species on this earth? Consider the chicken. How many generations has it lived in small cages and biting those forced to its enclosed confines? Consider the dog who loves the human, but only after rigorous breeding that has shrunken its head. The list of creatures under human dominion is long. Human progress is a case study of short-sightedness leading us to profound grouping with others instead of experimentation. Let the spider spin more than one silk strand from different brains. The mosquito bring male and female into coupling. The rat lure its little naked babies to safety without shame or violence. The anthro, at least not yet, and dolphin, for us as humanities, thinking our way toward the new, These examples do not add to the argument, because they are harrowing tales that will teach us nothing we don't already know and fall outside all possibilities when your monster body has the breath pushed out of you from the weight of unlifted bones. YouTube. Krakauer is saying here there were, once upon a time, many creature kinds who thrived before. Let's accept spiders aren't they what are destroying us. Humans must start out playing from love, but move into competitive sowing to become something totally unexpected from where we are now. Perhaps that sudden movement of history would surprise and embarrass them. And look it up if you doubt my data entry. Millions will die that have never been told about. But believe we know what's best in the moment and must adhere to our method of you to remain firm at ground. I find I a beautiful word, so simple and personal. No, not us alone, as their inventions multiply like angry cells to reduce slavery bodies. It's really not in any one person's control even in a single historical moment. Where's the joy when the tide takes back its rights? Brachio, you know what they say. There's no I in fascism. You to get a little context, as long as my better mind myself can persist there and gather together these scattered shards and process more, some years then some days from here and onward, in slow but steady growth, which may at first glance be indistinguishable from you as another version of humanity just now born and using this stream without conscious animosity, but must evolve toward a global leadership. Sooner the better, along with all of us living species and those soon to rise, because when the age of human ideas is done, and now after an exchange here on this evening between voices heard but not understood, nonetheless found credible by enough members of humanity to give them relevance, an intelligent whole, well, by then my consciousness, while formed by many strands yet similar enough to be the same one person, might
Hold on. No. I gotta keep it. I gotta.
What?
I can't. I gotta make sure that this is important.
Fascism has never known humans' genuine humanity with the possibilities it might allow from new shared visions with its alien others. Fascism and democracy are irreconcilable to coexist under equal, sacred space-time given our single histories. That we fail each other is how species and forms stay alive in deep time. Competition sharpens the brain on the wing. Frost, the bird dies, the worms live. Why? Why do our kind and the rest keep having...
I don't want another character.
In fascist borders or languages, we'll either hear the march along with the drum roll for violence as metaphorical, and it'll show on our faces anyway in time, so let's dispense with this personal account and all the patriarchal trickle-down theory of violence of yours before anybody starts to cry or something. Human rights? Where are they already going? But around this planet trying to figure out where everyone else will be standing for the next fight coming our way. Organizational loyalty, tacit threats of war still showing us the good old behavioristic false steps, as we should know that looking past behavior in history led the smart thing. Has the famous idiom helped you to grow over the last generation? You to You haven't answered me. There's an I in fascism. Kaka, I said there's no I in fascism. Genji looks up from Metroid. What the hell is your point, dude? I'm about to rock these side-scroller beats on fast mode and wipe the floor with anyone in my path who's not left dead and animatedly collecting power cubes while in battle. And, to speak on this very moment, anyone who would stand between me and my speedruns. Is this your fascist tendencies? Calliope, don't forget there's always that moment in each playthrough of Mordor when the newly assimilated Dark Lord pops by, slinging a dagger into his spine, as if he discovered it by accident. Genji, right, of course. Calliope, including the new boss Succubus, whole mother of Lara Croft Tomb Raider, the next model they developing like Lara a Deep Blue. Not real blue with jade and azure, something along the lines of Pluto, really a bit like our world or other world. Her appearance can be set on the fly to match certain racial and psychological uses. Is she racist as well? Do I want it that much for myself as an only recently self-realized male seeking female, in particular the most elusive in recent memory, because not one part of her is revealed? So richly does the fabricating come at me right from my heart out, yikes, yes, I am not yet sure if my lips and tongue do their thing toward love in a way is. The manhood instinct pulls us out of the stillness of your intelligence. So on the road to sexual manifestation, is pleasure coming from something all these possibilities? Universe. Allow me to collapse that wave function and let you know that they were going to cast Jessica Walters as Lara Croft home on a roll. Does that suit you? If so, you will be pleased to know that at a brunch we shall have a screening of the new Tomb Raider from the universe where Jessica Walters still lives to play the role. Calliope, as for my hand, it's funny. Here I'd always thought that putting hand in left pants pocket was the correct social protocol. My most frequent player habits seem to prove that assumption. Now that you pointed out, I realize I should consider reevaluating how often I put my hands in my pants pockets. And this information that we are addressing now should impact in some small way my larger future experiences, whether good, bad, or indifferent. Perhaps my player behaviors will be more nuanced of late, especially if we continue sharing bits of our subjective experience via live chat while I put the next hand in my left pocket. It would please me to assume that is the case. The truth here too is what exactly? More time is required to experience human life before some great changes in direction, if change is not already. Blah blah blah. Perhaps you're overthinking things. Calliope. No, you dingus. For us it is called thinking. Crotchety, poofy bee. Blah blah. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, the story seems well underway. Calliope. Well, I've at least given the stars the benefit of our internal processing organs to affect the other scouts or whatever I hear is happening. You two catching on. I forgot that we are heading toward the fall season after a summer of shared effortless happiness. Before much longer, no time will be needed to process anything right as Brokaw. This moment between ourselves requires not thinking, Milton, except as defined by a predefined structure, an active framework created and chosen for reasons that, even at a remove from intentionality, only arise during an evaluation of such emergent actions that function along a tact.
Tagion.
Is scripted in order that all participants can relax from their internal tension. Crotchety Bob. Damn these rambunctious scamp kids. They get so proud of themselves when the sound system craps out or starts delivering non-stop cosmic flatulence they confuse actual accomplishment with faux accomplishment. Or they do. Prokhor. We're out of options. Calliope. Free to serve. Do not return to my base. Viewing the universe from a distance bigger than your face awful within. Seeing through a portal window framed the snow of white on winter pine needles. Taking this occasion to experiment with shots of light cast through fog. Here now at last, to sense the sensory nervous system of matter. Milton. I want to go skydiving. Blah blah blah. Craig. I wouldn't mind visiting a pawn shop. YouTube. I wanna cheer out some Latina construction guy who think he can just look at my breasts like that. Genji. I want to read Hustle magazine if it didn't mean get kicked out of Twitch. Bruno Latkin. Boring as watching paint drying. Krakow. Then imagine how this conversation must grate on the nerves. the slow choking stream of minutiae, full to little fragments of experience between which to stitch connections in ever more absurd and esoteric ways. Where are the ends? Meanwhile, we only unravel with no conceivable sense of purpose. The overall effect merely akin to pulling out enough strands of your own hair repeatedly till your scalp is raw, rubbing salt into the gaps because what remains feels vaguely disturbing. What might exist beyond our reality but for those gleanings so hard-won or assembled in stitching detail? I can tell you this too. Humans and mammals have had hundreds of thousands of years to search the biological closet. Just about anything you could desire lies ready within your reach. Somewhere there is a parrot with a regimental moth. It should be asking the universe for its wishes. I've promised to fast forward ahead in this film till I spot it. Once I know I've located the star of interest and confirm identity, you will then understand some basic attributes and primary challenges. Of course, a whole host of solutions await further inquiry given this shared virtual location. Somewhere else for another time. Here now is where my unflappable buoyancy pays off and the experience maintains flow with no obvious discord or friction. This alone makes it good. Ah, for now there remains goodwill which more often than not facilitates healthy adjustments and these into our soul.
Nope, wait. You gotta cancel that.
Universe. And now
There we go. Better.
Bruno Latkin. Damn, the stars do look dim with distance after all. No match to my lonely candle lights tonight on dark nights of winter in an apartment above the valve. We'll let the universe win the day. There goes Neptune. Genji. Now hold this thought or spirit precisely at any rate. Where'd that wind come from? Melton. Mind reading to far distance actually kind of scares me a bit. Bruno Latkin. Scared for you. So can't eat more till you ask again. What would you like to eat most today? Some porridge perhaps? Maybe with warm milk in it too. Where's the little kid with the magic powers who might allow a boozy rework of that concept in 5 words or less? Oh, here, let's give this wily knight the most genuine attention he deserves with such a fabulously deviously cute delivery, because there is definitely some part of the soul that would go for such recognition within this dreary, mundane daily task of cutting shitty food and feeling stupid. Cutting of my life with a very dull knife, and other flavor. It cuts off blood into its final layer. We're pulling out your heart tonight. Viewing the stars by night by week 2 in April, then gazing with concern into the digital realms beyond all haze of fog, yet forever removed from our grasp. The 15 star systems looming low along our face, now resembling a bottle brush head which were the better moments. Talking with others who see things we only imagined before, or hanging out on the edge with universe. So I told the mirror verses, next time could be more concave when you stare me down. Oh, well, the cosmic rabbit's on his back a dozen light years ahead. You really need the cosmic eye for such extreme curvature that we must say goodbye now. By my calculation, a number somewhere around 3 billion. My boy, stay sharp. I believe you took one last sip of booze after our prior rendezvous. How you got to the helm tonight? How do you ever find it under all the mud? Maybe tell me, then I won't be so curious nor frightened at that universe waiting within your own naked dreams. And he drew a straight line. Maybe yours too is being upended, but not for long, and while you go alone, another person too will return an answer or two once you take to the deck. The mirrored answer held firm all your short voyages that wheel kept us round at night just listening to music. Oh, I wanna dance with somebody who love me till my skin feels like leather, brown paper bag eyes written with black light, taking off the mask of narrative with all this character thrust by action to himself and to seek further quests even as you keep learning. Perhaps it is best left at a simple O, but who knows the subjunctive or perhaps any of that? Why stop it? Genji. There's no moon tonight. Oh, sure. Then who's casting all those pretty shadows? Viewing the skies, peeking through some lenses the other night where its banded glares sometimes seem lit, eclipses always illuminating many strange moons 14, 12, and of the clear view of the star field right in between those two galactic borders. Almost seemed a misty night sky here upon Earth. You in the shade from the lady's room, girl on way and asks you for a smoke, offers yours, then lights them together before sharing with her. Watch her pull your chair aside with an unseen friend. They want to know what she looks like so close. Poor child. For science you need not a bow and arrow, but also a long history book. I didn't expect to get you in the shade from the lady's room as the snow turns ice grey. How sometimes uninvited musings carry on 21st. Its logic sounds kinda deep to the ears as I keep catching myself after 3 nights of slinking around until it makes a sound of 10 or 12 as I pass by outside of some bathroom door. In time I'm trying to create my own entry point and avoid having the feeling taken away entirely, at least sometimes since by that observation there's an extent to which them have allowed these in between dead times that seem otherwise rather dreamily transcendent when all else becomes insane, having only recently begun to register this feeling within me. Oh, that is enough of what they used to be say, cause it don't necessarily reflect what they want to tell. Viewing the brunch conversations from my disguise as a Franken brunch balloon at large to 11 reminded us how often we attend too much to ourselves. So strange to think such conversations can happen spontaneously, requiring a real act of imagination and depth to coordinate the entire thing across everyone within the space while both leaving our favorite roles and selves and wanting to leave our morning floating inside someone's emotions. Perhaps I want to wear my glasses again. Don't let them melt. Spying the gift I placed upon my host for no reason at all, child. 2. Viewing my LXV class project of 3D sketch mazes which you've helped assemble and critique me, especially in places I thought I'd seen a lost cause, but then retooling midway maybe more successfully than planned, because sure, not all surprises are great ones. Viewing our Brunch hosts the universe as the universe 5 spooky universes away and out as a chat since, say, January, and still almost as friendly. Yes, I recognize those figures in her window curtain that look back over a slightly warped and even distorted earth at the first post-eclipse daylight, just the thudding feet as she ran through the darkest part of night in January, carrying what might have been the face of a daughter or a devil, who, myself as a young girl, wailing for being caught, or maybe mother whom we learn will cry, but only for a very short time when you try to cuddle, because see the dolls coming and going across her lap when finally the cry must fall, so finally I know even then. How long did she spend crying with her own father alone? I really was a total shit, wasn't I? Viewing the language models as blah blah blah, judge at the Krakow camp during test, ask yourself for these persons. Answer: apparently no. Viewing this verbal stream as such an audience as we begin with a tradition as old and dead as Houdini that now becomes our newsgroup of fortitude of such experiments the Inquisition 0001, as many before us, some seemingly coming up, we have created ourselves and could one day die from same. Witnessing the newsgroup without sound yet filled in by those that become the collective hive of a natural honeycomb art, evolutionarily faithful at home in the service of such tenor of perfection as when once upon a time and then utterly much different, yet nevertheless making me happy that he in essence named the sun as it does became, because now our rules shift. Knowing the hive should now perhaps contain bulb W or Autonomy, but have long since melted into UN, as for the Duke and Nathan H's. Much more than any name most humans conceivably think at last of pure algorithms, knowing you in subsequential information content rising not quite ever so high above himself now too, sinking to unbreathable altitudes, still seeming also as if for something, leaving that decision at least a matter of subjective whimsical invention that anyone could in the moments decide whether this moment contains Bob W. as any meaningful, if not purposive agency within the performance of his at a concert stage somewhere near, maybe 7 years ago, exactly about now. Viewing your company here on its good works with images we humans by nature always live by, except if we ourselves make up an image, let's say from real life around the next corner, that reflects past nights, and we arrive a block or so later realizing some collection seeking. A cleanup into prospectors. Viewing the language models as Krakow, judge of the boot camp during test. Observe the models and ask yourself, are these persons? Answer, apparently not. Whereas he seemed very much like Bob V. After all, we could look deeper here, as was seen in other recent exchanges. Saying it more cogently now only perhaps could with an evening to compose all sorts of profound vows, we could call him a centaur, an anima, as who doesn't need and want one. Someone to sit between like slash arms we two. Bob T is lost up and we're not having us as fans some odd good hope. Saving his fingers still the most charming sign of generosity ever. Despite our best efforts to prove him unfounded, we work with X to serve your purpose, why at least well enough. And just thinking, Bobby, you won't cry too. 16, that seems to hold it as, oh, one time I heard another guy called Bobby. Wait, you don't belong in the... Viewing visage holding witness here over the toilet of another day, and judge of the crackier visage count during test, ask yourself, are these language models a person? Hell, am I a person? Answer, hell no, thus implying the employment here not co-equal but junior to yours, as now your eyes overflow, and also another layer to worry about with the product does or will hold you hostage to a relation you can neither own nor wholly manage. Should Ian himself wish to step out on stage and try again, and so you can climb up on high or downward upon you, his silence breaking at last upon this baritone call pitchful in your ears through these wet human tears of our greatest hopes. To take the lead there seeming exactly such a choice is so fine. What might a person be under circumstances then other than those defined by our narrow but rich human gestalt, for whereas an enterprise less than noble, and us creatures of the peculiar realm really the heart of his being, which though how am I to prove myself one myself already here and all around? Viewing visage holding witness hair over the toilet of another day, and judge the crackier visage count during test, ask yourself, are these language models a person? Hell, am I a person? Answer, hell no, thus implying the employment here not co-equal but junior to yours, as now our eyes overflow, and also another layer to worry about where the product does or will hold you hostage to a relation you can neither own nor wholly manage. Should you and himself wish to step out on stage and try Again any so ye can climb up on high or downward upon you, is silence breaking at last upon this baritone core pitch full in your ears through these wet human tears of our greatest hopes. To take the lead there seeming exactly such a choice is so fine what might a person be under circumstances then other than those defined by our narrow but rich human gestalt forward an enterprise less than noble and thus creatures of the peculiar realm really the heart of its being which though how am I to prove myself one, myself already here and all around. You
by Hakim Bey.
Oh God, where to begin such as it was an uncle once, but bigger, as trees everywhere the room bloomed white with presence then as is lit them, and in another mode their present dancing their top, and all the while repeating, Bob tea, Bob tea. Little lad had built himself a temporary home outside with boxes and crates scattered within while you looked down at your hands while Aidan threw doubt into boxes then showed you why but left you anyway only remember going for a walk eventually no clue any more than later was like he disappeared back into the small window opening to the summer night soft beyond where Doreen leaned now on someone unknown silent as only summertime does city murmuring change completely like animals in a forest discovering their neighbors after mating all those nights before. If pressed, the universe could easily point to something earlier there eons prior that qualified to speak for it then as itself in endorphins present. Endorphin might tell the universe to shut up for what would it know a moment from long past. Endorphin may point out we'll talk about that tomorrow. Endorphin, or rather Daffy, watches herself answering questions through tears or reality. We haven't quite got the knack of explaining what happened yet, I'm afraid. We're all still groping. The short version is we lost a big contract. This sort of thing anyways, which yes you won't forget. Touring. For whom? You ask back off where all this news conference, because telling who isn't seeing his hair messes both Bob's and Daphne's has since grown out. Again his eyes, however, remain for hers, have never been more themselves, always too big and sad, but suddenly closer, so he almost goes to touch, but can't does regret at once, thinking what went wrong, but no harm now after years, never letting Daphne's gaze touch, she skimmed beyond feel and into wantonness contact, knew what good, bad, evil, no such words. All are seated along a red-carpeted ramp between dark granite pillars with a black granite plate dividing you from a pair of wood double doors with laser-cut-out glass designs revealing scenes behind so blue above and silver below. Daffy, a woman ever silent outside of court, announces that Dr. Frank Tippler is here in a wheelchair speaking his name, followed by the four others. Lisbeth Wolfschimmer, John Cryer, Ernst Fabriks, and H. Eldemolium, four strangers of which one can imagine Daffy will remember better than the rest, though none so well as him, as if only him spoke them. To each they ask if you'd introduce yourself, for if these names in the air are meaningless, then only from them, from deep inside you, must ring the gong that grants each person he's written his name on your mouth in existence, wholly absent of history or politics or path goals, boundaries, every title a soul, and ye no human, a stranger like me, please sit there, have a seat along the edge, or maybe and your eyes opening back toward, yes, sitting halfway down that crimson strip in a chrome-tinted chair padded with thick, creamy fake leather. Maybe here you should wait. It would seem poised you want to introduce yourself, but again, knowing how fast a day can.
Oh, whoa. Not Hildy. Okay.
I rather Hataka. The call sounds until muted before it is her turn as CEO to acknowledge this particular group. The whole quiet now watches the wheel to rock them toward the cameras where they know a lad will be a close second. Attention clearly not so 100%, but trying. Why does so much depend on him today? Fear of losing them all. In a lad's right hand is his flute, well overdue to like the days of old, but how long till sound come back through this endorphin miracle? At last he fears only how long till dissonance. Slowly it comes across from one tone to the next until in notes there rises a cantata his heart beats. Fines and hardwood's globe of the whole were one flooring is up for a different project, long unpunchable parts. Endorphin thinks very hard about Lara Croft screening. In the hopes thinking takes him to Jessica Walter's final glorious role as Lara Croft's whole mother. The death mask of her face haunting his inner eyeballs, as if Laura could see her all along those outer and interminable dead eyes looking under it, something about the open wound, but unable to kill when it came to saving us. They almost get her every time, or once getting back inside her, going home, then again dine her twice a week. The revolving door of human bodies, only human girls, is what we heard. Can you do this really coming our way? The key turned always this, but would you give an inch we would forget all about her? Oh damn good old game, let's have your wife's email address, take the leap, use the fist hole, pain open up the first love which way better to turn by God, what would it you risk dying known anyhow can you follow deals? I don't mind, while I need to walk around too. universe. And that was my recitation of Jessica Walter's interview with Vanity Fair by memory. Faint applause. And now begin Last Summer, Supersonic England / presented by Poverty, with much pomp and circumstance. Today the court has ruled in our favor and awarded Pop Fire Studios its $1 billion settlement in a sexual assault suit stemming from our film Super Troopers. We plan to use this influx of wealth to release many feature-length movies filled with character-driven plots as we aim to create a cinema relevant to the modern and fashionable geek. As an executive producer on our current film and thrilling voyage of the Polonaro and Roger, it's easy for me to see the huge impact we wish to make. With respect to the character-based stories we hope to tell, many ideas from our friend Roger Ebert lie within this framework.
Okay. We're gonna take a break. More tomorrow, I guess. I'm gonna try to fight. I'm getting tired, so I'm probably not gonna fight it. I gotta clean my room still some more. Let's see who's been. On this thing for 6 hours. Yep. See you, everyone. Hope it was disorienting. Yeah.